Welcome everybody to another episode of the Singles Ministry. And tonight we are expecting to have an awesome time with our guest. And our guest is no other than Lady Diana Edmonds. And I don't know anything about her, but she's going to introduce herself, right? And so we're going to bring her on now. And we're going to say, good evening, Lady Diana.
Hi, good evening. Hi, Steve. Hi, audience, everyone who's watching.
And our first question, just to get it off, because I I don't know what to tell the audience. So, who is Diana Edmonds?
All right. So who is Diana Edmonds? That's such a really good question. I think first and foremost, something I always try to identify is a child of God, right? That's very important. So first and foremost, I'm a child of God, born again, believer, Jesus lover, 100%. So that's first and foremost. And then thereafter, I am a daughter, a sister, a friend. I am a teacher by profession. I am a speaker by passion. And I am very involved with youths. I really enjoy youth. And so yes, that's just a snippet of who I am for the time frame. I don't want to give too much
Great,
info, but that's kind of who I am.
great, awesome. So you're a public, you have a
Yeah.
public,
Sorry?
you're a public person. You're an
I
icon.
would say that, yes. I would say that I've done
You're a
quite a few
public
things.
icon.
Wow, I don't know. We endeavor to be. I will say I'm a creative, and so that has definitely that gifting has definitely opened lots of doors, especially in the Christian community in Antigua and Barbuda, in which I've gotten to showcase my talents or gotten the privilege of speaking. And so, yes, quite a few persons know me for like doing spoken word, specifically. I've done I've done that over the last few years of my life.
I see that you have an online personality. By that I mean I see you're on YouTube, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram.
Yes, yes, I am.
So
Um,
you are you're a public figure in the Christian community.
yes, 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 I am. I'm on
And
all those platforms.
so so our next question to you is, you're single, right?
I am presently single.
Okay, great, great. We got to get that outside that you're single. So the Christian men who are watching, there is um there is availability here, and you got to fill out your application forms and get them in. Okay. But as a public figure, being in the eyes of the what it is like being single.
Say the question again. I'm so sorry. You broke up a bit.
The is it rough? Is it easy? What is it like being single as a Christian public figure?
Um, it's it's no different, I suppose, than just being a regular single individual. I would believe that being single as someone who's seen in the public would mean that you're seen and that so persons would know that you are available and so they can be a potential candidate or an option. But it's no different than just being a single person. I haven't seen a difference. That's what I'll say. I haven't seen a difference being single known or single unknown.
Wow. Um, it's weird that you see it that way because um, I've always heard growing up, being a pastor's kid,
Mm-hmm.
they have these all of um, these hanging over pastors' kids. Um, it was always said that whether boy or girl, that there were others in the congregation who run after pastors' kids. So, and not only pastors' kids, but like people in leadership position, people want to gravitate towards them, and it would be such an honor to be the husband or the wife of um, pastor or brother so and so who is probably always seen. So um the challenge is there on those of us who are being run after to like we got to turn down certain applications, and we got to stay on our heads, you know on our feet actually, so that we don't fall for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
um what's what what's it like having attraction from the opposite sex
What's it like
for you?
having attraction from the opposite sex?
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
it's it's all right. So just to set the precedence, so like I said before, there's no big difference to me per se, because who I am as an individual, regular Diana, is the same person I am as a leader or in leadership positions, and so hence why I think it's pretty level playing field in terms of persons approaching me. In terms of attraction from the opposite sex, it's it's okay. It's fine. You have a varying level of persons who are attracted. So you have Christian young men or Christian men who would approach me, and then you'd have unsaved men who would approach me, right? And at the end of the day, at the base level, they're all men, and so they generally come the same way. And so you have to really be grounded in what you're looking for. You have to be grounded in really listening to what they're saying and how they're saying it to really perceive what's happening and that they're not trying to run game on you. But it's fine. I have no issue. I've been learning over the years. So I know how to navigate interest in me as it comes. But yeah, it's been cool. I will say though, I find that more as because we're in a Christian setting, right? I do find that more unsaved men approach me than Christian guys. I've heard from Christian men, well, at least one Christian guy that we were friends, he mentioned that I can be intimidating, and so sometimes my persona, who I am, especially when I'm in leadership capacity, can be intimidating. So I don't know if that's why some men don't approach as much. But I find the unsaved men, they don't care. They're not bothered by these things. They approach even if they know there is no chance, even if it's just to tell you, "Hi, beautiful. Have a good day." They're more willing to take the risk of saying something, of introducing themselves, of trying than sometimes I find Christian guys do. No shade to any Christian guy. Maybe I wasn't their cup of tea, and that's fine. But I do find there's more of a willingness to try from the unsaved than sometimes the Christian guys.
You're breaking up a bit. You're breaking up a bit, but
Oh,
we do
so
we do understand that even the way in a Christian setting we're gonna have the attraction from all angles, because the devil is gonna attack us. That's one. And then they're gonna be those within the faith that who just want to be that person, because I think that okay, everybody's gonna see Diana on on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, and Auntie you're small. So it's gonna be like, wow, that's a young lady from TikTok, and um, you also have your own podcast, right?
Yes, yes, I
Could
do.
you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I have a podcast. It's called Resist the Urge. I started it back in 2020. I had to take a break from it because a lot of life changing events have been taking place, but we're hoping to restart this year. And resist the urge is just basically resisting all things that are negative, all things that are not helpful to you as a person and to your life. And it's definitely a place where we hold discussions. We have different topics that we talk about that are helpful to people within my age group and within like their 20s. And I think it's really necessary because I found that lots of people weren't talking about things. Like they're not talking about things that affect us. Sometimes they're talking about things that are affecting like teens, or like a specific group, but it was never my group of individuals. So the person's like 23 to like 35 within that window, how we're navigating, how we're transitioning from one part of our life to another part to another. No one is talking about it. No one's bringing up the topics, specifically when it comes to Christian things as well. And so I just wanted to create an environment and a place where persons can engage and have discussions. And I found myself surrounded by so many wonderful persons who have experience, who have things to say, who are willing to share. And I just wanted to bring that and share it with others. So, yeah, that is the podcast, Resist the Urge. We're on all major podcasting platforms, and we're hoping to come to YouTube officially very soon.
Wow, that's awesome. And it's always a pleasure, just interacting with others who are of the same mindset, because speaking about resisting the urge of every type of temptation, every type of sin, how are we overcoming that? That sounds like, something awesome, something great that we as Christians, we need to talk about on a regular basis, because the devil does attack us, especially those of us in leadership positions. He's trying to bring us down. And the more we speak, the Bible says that we overcome by the word of our testimony. Yeah. And
Yep.
so if we are able to speak about things that that affect us as leaders, then I think others would look and say, wow. Because one thing I do that a lot of persons think that leaders are indestructible, or we are superhuman beings that don't experience certain things. So having that podcast geared towards, Christians opening up and saying what is it that we're going through, that's very awesome. And I pray that you could get back on stream as soon as possible. I'll be praying that God open all of the doors, all of the windows, and all of the attic walls, everything that you could get back on stream.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so
Yes, please.
yes, definitely, it's something that we need. And I also often tell people, listen, seek counseling. Doesn't matter what you're going through. It doesn't matter how much strength you have or how strong you think you are. Just get a little counseling here and there.
Mm,
And so, our next question for you:
yes.
how do you see marriage? Like at the what? Okay, you know what? Let's put it this way.
Okay.
Um, Growing up, at what age you thought you would have gotten married, um, start your family, and then what did you imagine it to be?
All right. So, growing up, I think that the typical age range that I wouldn't say that the church gave you, but it was implied, though it wasn't explicitly said. But I think like getting married around 25 was like, the ultimate goal. And so I thought that by 25 I would be married, and then anywhere from like 28 to maybe 30 I'd probably start having children. Um so yeah, so that was ideally it, because as a young Christian person you're supposed to be keeping yourself for the Lord. And so, eventually get married, and, you're not dating around the place, but you're courting to get married. So 25 was the ideal thing in my mind, like 25, that was the goal.
Right.
Five. Yeah, it was 25. By the time you reach quarter century, yes, you've lived enough to get married. And so give myself like 3 years to enjoy that marriage, and then we start thinking about children, right? So that was the original plan. Okay. And then 25 came, and 25 was like, hey,
Original plan.
how you doing? Bye. 25 went about its business. So 25 did not happen in my plan or the scheme of things in terms of getting married. And I think that's for many different reasons. Some within my control, some beyond my control. But yes, 25 was the number at the time. I don't remember if there's another part of the question.
What did you envision marriage to be like?
Then or
Um,
now?
then,
Then. Oh, wow.
then.
I envisioned, hmm. You know what? I can't even say that I fully remember back then, being like in my early 20s before 25. I envisioned marriage being, being with somebody that you loved, having to live together, having to compromise, um, I guess to the carnal level, finally being able to have sex. But that's just, just like that. Like you're living with somebody, you're dwelling with them. Yeah. I think back then that's what I had in mind. But now things have definitely changed and evolved, and my taste in terms of what I'm looking
You
for.
you started answering the question before.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll wait.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Right.
Go
So,
ahead. You already started.
yeah. So some of the things that I'm looking for or that are important to me now are not the same things or not even things I considered back then. But I never came very close to getting married, even though I would have had a relationship. So I think had I gotten closer to getting married, certain topics would come up, and so I would be forced to think about them, even if I hadn't before. That being said, there's so many more things that I think about now. There's so many more things that I draw to in terms of just how someone treats you. So we all want the basics. So it's you want somebody who loves God. That goes without saying, because if God is not in it, what are we doing in it? Really, what are we doing? It's not going to work out. Because life, if it's one thing life is going to do, it's going to change and it's going to bring problems. Two things life will always do inevitably: change and bring problems. And you cannot navigate either of those two things without God, because in the change you're going to need peace. In the change you're going to need a level of joy and understanding, realizing that even in the change it's working for your good, right? And with problems in everything, we have him as our solid rock. So without God it doesn't make sense. But even in terms of how the person treats you, and are they considerate, are they actually
That's
doing the
true.
things that they're saying? All these things now come into play when you're thinking about marriage, when you're thinking about a partner. I've gotten the pleasure of seeing many marriages. So from my pastor's marriage to some other godly marriages around me, and my parents, I've seen all of these things, and they've definitely shaped and reshaped a lot of my thinking. So I think I'm definitely more prepared now than I was at 25. But again, had I gotten closer to it, I'm sure I would have been as prepared as I could be. Hello.
I'm happy that you use the word more prepared because, hey, can you hear me? I'm happy that you use the word more prepared, like more prepared now,
Yeah.
because a lot of
Hi everyone. If you can still hear, just one moment, please. There's some technical difficulties on the other end. But please feel free to subscribe to the Singles Ministry by hitting the icon below. Yes, please feel free to comment, to like, to share, to subscribe to the Singles Ministry. Oh, he's back. Okay. So my little promoting is done. Go ahead, Steve.
I'm saying, is anyone fully prepared, ever fully prepared, fully ready for marriage? Because you use that phrase that you are more prepared now,
Mhm.
right? And
Yes.
that is something that we all should look at, rather than saying, "Oh, I'm fully ready. I'm ready now." Like, what makes somebody fully ready for marriage?
Sure. Thank you so much. And I think we were just having that discussion last week. I think what makes you not fully, but what makes you as ready as possible for marriage is a willingness to learn. At least that's what I think, me personally. It's a willingness to learn. It's a willingness to understand that things change, and I'm responsible for my attitude and how I behave. Um, so it's not all in the other person, and willing to learn, like learn who they are, learn how you now operate in this new environment and this new context of life. But for me, it's all about being willing to learn, being humble enough to understand that you don't know it all, that you're wrong, we're wrong at times, and being willing to see how can I be better for this.
Right.
I've
And hit the notification bell so that you could be notified every time we go online.
indeed. Yes, please. So yeah, that's just my thoughts. My thing is, that you're ready for. I know that I am more ready for marriage because I'm not stuck in my way, and I think that's very important. Outside of God, if you're not a man of God, please find Jesus before you find me. But outside of that, I
Yes.
think I'm not stuck in my way, and I know sometimes as we get older, we become stuck in our way. But I am willing to change. I'm willing to see where I am in error. And even if it hurts or bruises my pride, I'm willing to adjust. Because at the end of the day, you want your life to please God, but in pleasing God, should be beneficial for your husband, for your family, for the people around you, right? And so I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to change where necessary. And I
Yes.
think that's what makes me um, ready or more ready, you know?
So it is more like being open-minded to the fact that you're dealing with another person who is not going to always meet your expectations, because we get up and we think, okay, this person is supposed to act this way or do things this way because it's all in my mind. But not everything that is in our mind is what is going to be manifested. So as you were clearly explaining that, we should be open-minded enough to say, you know what, I'm willing to learn that this other person is not going to always meet my expectation. So I have to now take the expectations out and gravitate to how that other person really operates, right? And so um we're gonna we're gonna ask you the last question, and it's not really a question, but what is your advice to the singles who are um, wanting to get married? Um, Give an advice to both male and female tell them, what it is like, and being a leader, and a public figure. Just give an open advice to all of the singles hoping to get married by
25.
December of 2025.
December 2025. That's next year, December. Wow. Um. So I think
2025.
2020. All right.
Yes.
Very specific. All right. So as a leader, um, well, you see, it's a little different sometimes with male and female being in leadership positions, and so as a female leader, um, I understand that my role as a leader requires me to operate in a particular way. It requires me to engage in a particular way. And so for female leaders, it's just remembering that outside of that position, when you're not functioning there, to remain the female. So, that may mean to cut back on certain things, maybe how you speak, how you approach situations, maybe wait, be in that resting feminine position. And so, just things like that. Because while we have to take charge as a leader, we have to set things in place and we have to do those things. When it comes to romantic relationships, that is not the position that we take. Right. And so it's just to remember that thin line. So that's for female in leadership. For male in leadership, I don't really have much to say. You're the male in leadership. Lead well, please. Thank you. And women love men who lead well. You don't have to lead perfectly, because no one is perfect. You will make mistakes. Own up to the mistakes and do better, and make your changes and improve. But lead. Um, but in terms of singleness, I would say Christian men, you have to be very different from the world. And so don't stir up feelings in anyone and you're not ready. And if you are ready, then pursue with
Mm.
intent. So whether that means being observant at first without making any contact, without saying anything, then do that. Observe, get your intel, find out your information. So when you do make a move, right, that it's with intentional. I feel sometimes we keep throwing, what do you call those things? Darts? We keep throwing darts,
Yes.
and it's like you're not being serious. And so the darts are like bouncing off of everyone and everything, and people get hurt because that's not where the dart is supposed to be going. So I'm just saying, just be intentional with what you're doing and be serious, right? Because you are um dealing with somebody somebody's feelings, and that's very important. In terms of just being a single overall, all I can say is just prepare yourself the best you can. You're still valuable, you still have a life to live, there is still enjoyment to be had. But prepare yourself for what you want as well. And so in whatever facet or area that may be, prepare yourself, get yourself aligned. I know sometimes, so just an example, like when I was younger, quite younger, actually, probably like my late teens, I used to think that because you have a family, so like husband and wife, whatnot, that is when you'll have devotions. And so if you're not going to be doing that, then what's happening? Not realizing that you have to have your personal relationship with God that is grounded, that is solid, and then together you unite and continue to build upon that. And so just get yourself grounded and rooted in things. A lot of us want things, but we're not it. Like I was telling a group of friends the other day, how are we presenting ourselves both as male and female? A lot of us are not what we would go for. So we're not the healthiest, we're not the fittest. We're still maybe dressing or behaving or presenting ourselves a particular way. And like, oh, just take me as I am. Okay. But I still got to see you. And I'm not saying make drastic changes like plastic surgery and all that, become somebody who you're
Mm.
not, but still be your best. You're always presenting your best self, right? And something that you can sustain
Yes.
as well. Like best self. That's what you can do in the moment, and draw closer to God. I find that drawing close to God keeps you from feeling lonely, and having good friends around you, like a really solid circle, helps with feeling lonely. In terms of staying away from temptation, again, drawing close to God, because even if you want to give in to certain things, the the Holy Spirit is right there, like, what about us? Our relationship, and so you don't want to displease the Holy Spirit, and so you stay away from temptation, or you build pillars in your life that blocks it out, like a safe refuge to run into. And so, yeah, my thing for any Christian young person, whether in leadership or not, wherever you are in the age spectrum, is stay close to God. That is very important. Wait, someone sent a message. How would you tell a person that is not saved, this is how to be ready to get married? How would I tell a person that is not saved, this is how to be ready to get married? I think my advice, I'm so sorry, Steve, I just saw this thing. I think first and foremost, one thing I had said is to be willing to learn and to be willing to adjust. And I think whether you're saved or unsaved, that is a mindset that you should have.
Well,
Obviously
I've
being
just seen it. Yeah.
okay.
But
Obviously
I
being
think you
saved.
answered,
Huh? Sorry.
and
Continue.
you would have answered earlier. You would have answered earlier, once you have that open mindset that, you're
Yeah.
willing to learn. You're hearing
Yeah,
me?
being able to learn. Yes, yes, I am. So I
Yeah,
was
once you're willing to learn, once you have an open mind, that's all you need, an open mind. Not
yeah,
stuck in your ways, but willing to
to learn,
understand that
to
life
adjust.
changes.
Yeah, and to adjust and to be
So the other
considerate.
person changes. So
Yeah.
so
So I
yeah,
think what
so that
saved
would
or
be a question.
yeah. How would you handle someone that how would you handle someone that are interested in you but not your type at first, but then would you want to get to know them? Oh, that's such a good question. I was just the singles ministry group, we were just talking
I
about
think
that.
we did touch, yes, I think we did touch that question earlier in the group. And let's just tell everybody to be willing and want to join the Singles Ministries WhatsApp group, because it's crazy how all of these singles get up every day expecting to speak to each other. And even Lady Diana has been asking for a break, to breathe and
I've asked for break for a
recuperate.
while. Don't make it sound that bad. But yes, it's quite an active group.
Because,
Um,
just as singles, just getting to understand what being single is and wanting marriage. So
right. But just to
we
answer
plead
him a
to
bit though,
everyone. Go
just to
ahead.
answer him a bit though, I would say that you can't be so locked into your type that you don't give someone a chance, especially if they approach you in a very honorable way, in a very nice way. One of the things we were just talking about in the singles ministry WhatsApp group is the fact that you can befriend people, you can have friends. And they always say good relationship starts from friendship. And at the end of the day, even if the person is not your type or you may not be interested in them in a romantic way, one, you should make that clear in the extent of let's be friends, let us talk, engage with them, because over time you may start to like them as more than friends, getting to know their personality and their heart and stuff like that. So I would say befriend people, using always befriend person. Um, because not everybody is going to be your type, and sometimes our types change. Sometimes our types, honestly, are not the smartest things for us. It's just attraction and interest and sparks. But I would say even if someone is not your
Yep.
type or not what you would typically go for, it doesn't mean you should shut them down. Befriend them. They may still end up being your friend, but at least you're getting to know them more than just shutting them off. Do you know what I mean? Especially if the approach, like I said, is one of kindness, and they're nice and they're not being very invasive. they're just a cool, calm person, just saying, I'd like to get to know you, whatnot. Then why not? But if you see it's getting to a place where your feelings are still not changing, or your thoughts and opinions are still not changing, you do need to make it clear that, I'm not interested in pursuing this further. I think how we deal with people needs to be very considerate. I'm always considerate of the fact that if I have feelings, someone else has feelings, and I never want someone to um, be led on, just like I don't want to be led on. And so I would say definitely consider that. If you see that nothing is changing on your end and they're still, just make that clear. See if they need to move on, they can. But don't shut it down. Don't shut it down, or types can evolve. And I don't remember what we were talking about first. Oh, singles. Yes, yes. So that was my advice to singles a while back. And again, I'm still learning. I am still growing. And like I said, because I'm open to learn, um, I try to fill my life with information, knowledge. So I'm trying to get my theory together, so by the time the practical come, I can thrive as best as possible. That's what I'm doing, trying to get my theory together, and just spending time with God. I realize that my relationship with God has really changed my view of marriage, of a man, of what I should expect and look for, and to be loved.
Yes, definitely, because the way you speak, I can tell that whoever he is, he will be enjoying himself.
Well, sort out. What a
That I
sort out
gather
man.
that now.
Sort out man out there living a pale life.
Yeah, well thought out. Well,
Mhm.
well,
There are no more questions. I was really enjoying being asked questions. I'm so sorry, Steve. I'm not certain if you are muted, but we're not able to hear you. At least I'm not.
I'm so sorry. Yes, it was automatically muted. But I'm saying that most times what we deem our type is
Mm.
usually based on what we see on the outside. Like I came up with an analogy. The candy wrapper is not so pretty. So we tend to bypass that candy because the wrapper is not so pretty. It's not attractive. So we tend to just bypass it, and then we don't even know how the candy tastes. We
Mm.
don't even know what the candy looks like on the inside, but we bypass it just because of the wrapper. And that is something that we do when it comes to friendships, relationships on a whole, whether platonic, whatever. We just look at the outward appearance and be like, okay, it's a no-no. And as Christians, we should not, because the Bible tells us that even when men look at the outward appearance, God looks at the heart. And what God loves is what we should also love. And then, knowing that God loves looking at people's hearts, seeing who they are on the inside, we should also take on that um, aspect of God's personality. So we are basically at the end of this episode. I wish we could go on like maybe an hour, 2 hours, but we just leave this here. And it was an awesome half hour, 45 minutes. And I say we will definitely be having you again, because there are just topics that we're going to touch on,
Oh,
that when it comes to being single and looking forward to marriage. And I know a lot of persons out there listening, or maybe listening to the the recording afterwards and be saying, "Wow, this type of thinking, I never saw something like this. I've never thought of it that way." So you seem like a very, very important person to this podcast. So you are our number one guest so far.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
So we'll definitely be having you back. We'll definitely be having you back. It was an awesome time, speaking with you and hearing what really happens inside the mind of Lady Diana Edmonds.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me. And yes, I am definitely open to returning on the podcast. Like I said, even with my own podcast, for me, it's just important to share knowledge. Anything I know, I want somebody else to know, and we're just growing on knowledge so that we can become better individuals. And so maybe there's something I found out or I think that is helpful to you or will set you on the right path of thinking. I don't know. But whatever it may be, of course, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having me.
And so we say, enjoy the rest of your evening and God bless.
Bye, everyone.